1971, Stanford University. A chilling discovery lies buried in the annals of one of the most infamous psychological experiments of all time, the Stanford prison experiment. But what if we told you that there was a darker side to this already controversial study, a side that delves into uncharted territories of human behavior and sheds light on the devastating consequences of unchecked power dynamics? The Stanford prison experiment, headed by psychologist Philip Zimbardo, aimed to explore the psychological effects of becoming a prisoner or prison guard. The controversial study was meant to last 2 weeks, but was abruptly halted after only 6 days due to the rapid deterioration of the participants' mental states and actions. However, recent revelations have unveiled a shocking truth. There were far more disturbing incidents than initially reported. In newly released documents, Zimbardo himself admitted that he had suppressed evidence of severe physical and psychological abuse perpetrated by both guards and prisoners alike. Zimbardo's notes reveal an alarming pattern of abuse, sleep deprivation, sensory deprivation, forced exercise, and humiliating sexual simulations were just a few of the methods used to degrade and control the participants. The guards even enforced their authority with makeshift weapons, clubs fashioned from pool cues, for example. What could have driven seemingly ordinary college students to commit such heinous acts? According to Zimbardo's own account, the answer lies in the pernicious combination of power and anonymity. The guards donned uniforms and mirrored sunglasses to obscure their identities, whereas prisoners wore only nondescript smocks, effectively stripping them of their individuality. The psychological repercussions on participants were profound and long-lasting. Many suffered from debilitating stress disorders, depression, and anxiety in the years following the experiment. Shockingly, some even claimed to have experienced post-traumatic flashbacks. These harrowing disclosures raise new questions about the ethics of psychological research and our understanding of human behavior under extreme circumstances. Why did Zimbardo choose to conceal this information for so long? And what does it say about the potential for ordinary individuals to commit unspeakable acts when given power and anonymity? The Stanford prison experiment has long been a cautionary tale of how quickly situations can spiral out of control. But these recent discoveries serve as a stark reminder that even seemingly innocuous studies can have dire consequences, both for participants and the scientific community at large. As we continue to explore the depths of human behavior, let us never forget the lessons learned from this dark chapter in psychological history. As we delve deeper into the disturbing secrets of the Stanford prison experiment, one thing becomes abundantly clear. Sometimes, the most shocking discoveries are those hidden right beneath our noses. Tune in next time as we continue to unravel this gripping mystery and expose the truth behind the shadows of suppressed science. In the annals of psychological research, few experiments have garnered as much infamy as the Stanford prison experiment. Initiated in 1971 by Dr. Philip Zimbardo, a professor at Stanford University, this study was designed to explore the impact of social roles on human behavior. However, what transpired during those fateful days has left an indelible mark on the field and raised serious questions about the ethics of psychological research. Dr. Philip Zimbardo, a Presempered 1971 by Dr. Philip Zimbardo, a Presempered 1970 Ethics of Psychological Research. Zimbardo recruited 24 male college students, randomly assigning them the roles of either prisoners or guards in a simulated prison environment. The experiment was initially scheduled to run for 2 weeks, but it had to be terminated after only 6 days due to the escalating levels of tension and abuse. The participants quickly became engrossed in their assigned roles, with many of the guards exhibiting increasingly sadistic behavior, and a number of the prisoners experiencing severe emotional distress. The line between role-playing and reality began to blur, revealing unsettling insights into how situational pressures and power dynamics can influence human behavior. What has largely remained untold about this notorious experiment are the stories of those involved and the behind-the-scenes machinations that shaped their experiences. Dr. Zimbardo himself was accused of crossing ethical boundaries by actively encouraging the guards' abusive behavior and failing to intervene when the situation spiraled out of control. The involvement of other psychologists has also come under scrutiny, particularly Craig Haney and Russell Christensen, who served as consultants on the project. They later distanced themselves from the study, citing ethical concerns and their discomfort with the increasingly volatile atmosphere within the simulated prison. The participants, too, have their own harrowing tales to tell. Many reported experiencing lasting psychological effects long after the experiment's conclusion, with several requiring extensive therapy to cope with their trauma. Some even claimed that their lives had been forever altered by the ordeal, struggling to maintain healthy relationships and find a sense of purpose in the wake of such a profoundly disturbing experience. These stories serve as a sobering reminder of the potential consequences of unchecked psychological experimentation and the need for stringent ethical guidelines and research involving human subjects. As we continue to explore the mysteries surrounding the Stanford prison experiment, it becomes increasingly clear that sometimes the most shocking discoveries are those hidden right beneath our noses. In this case, a dark chapter of psychological history that exposes uncomfortable truths about human nature and the responsibilities of scientists. In our next segment, we will further delve into these unanswered questions and explore the lingering controversy surrounding the Stanford prison experiment's legacy, as well as its impact on modern psychological research and ethical standards. Join us as we continue to unravel this gripping mystery and expose the truth behind the shadows of suppressed science. In the annals of psychological research, few experiments are as notorious or controversial as the Stanford Prison Experiment. Led by renowned psychologist Philip Zimbardo in 1971, this study aimed to explore the impact of social roles and power dynamics on human behavior. However, what transpired during those fateful days at Stanford University has raised more questions than answers, leaving behind a trail of ethical concerns and unanswered questions that continue to haunt the field of psychology today. The experiment was designed to investigate the psychological effects of perceived power, obedience to authority, and de-individuation, the loss of self-awareness and personal identity in group situations. Zimbardo sought to understand how seemingly ordinary individuals could commit horrendous acts when granted authority or subsumed within a system. To conduct the study, Zimbardo transformed a basement at Stanford University into a mock prison, dividing 24 male college students into two groups, prisoners and guards. The participants were randomly assigned their roles, with neither group aware of who would play which part until they arrived at the simulated prison. Within mere days, the situation devolved into chaos, with the guards enacting increasingly cruel and dehumanizing treatments upon their prisoners. Zimbardo himself became fully immersed in his role as prison superintendent, failing to intervene despite witnessing numerous instances of psychological abuse. The experiment was halted after only 6 days due to the escalating tension and potential for harm. One significant aspect of this experiment was its exploration of obedience to authority. Many guards enforced rules and punishments not because they enjoyed doing so, but because they felt obligated to follow orders, echoing the chilling Milgram experiment conducted a decade earlier. This raises critical questions about the boundaries of compliance and the potential for individuals to commit heinous acts when acting under the guise of authority. Furthermore, role-playing significantly influenced participants' behavior during the Stanford Prison Experiment. When cast in the role of guard, men who had previously identified as peace-loving and empathetic became cruel oppressors. Conversely, those assigned the role of prisoners were more likely to succumb to feelings of powerlessness and despair. The transformative nature of these roles highlights the malleability of human behavior within social contexts, a crucial consideration for researchers and practitioners alike. De-individuation also played a significant role in shaping participants' actions during the study. As guards donned uniforms and mirrored sunglasses, they became increasingly detached from their individual identities, losing sight of the consequences of their actions. This phenomenon has been observed in various real-world contexts, such as riots and cyberbullying, where individuals subsumed within a group dynamic are more likely to engage in harmful behaviors than when acting alone. Despite its profound implications for understanding human behavior, the Stanford Prison Experiment remains shrouded in controversy due to its ethical lapses and unanswered questions regarding its validity and applicability. In our next segment, we will delve deeper into these contentious issues, examining the lingering impact of this infamous study on modern psychological research and ethical standards. Join us as we continue to unravel the mysteries surrounding the Stanford Prison Experiment and expose the truth behind the shadows of suppressed science. 1971, Stanford University. A chilling experiment unfolds, one that will leave an indelible mark on the field of psychology and ethics. The Stanford Prison Experiment, led by psychologist Philip Zimbardo, claims to reveal the stark power of social roles and situational forces in shaping human behavior. But as we delve deeper into its murky waters, questions about its validity and ethical conduct emerge. The experiment begins with 24 student volunteers, randomly assigned as either prisoners or guards. Almost immediately, the situation spirals out of control. Guards enforce petty rules with escalating harshness, while prisoners become passive and demoralized. Zimbardo himself becomes entangled in the role of prison superintendent, blurring the line between scientific observation and participation. Media coverage is extensive, painting a sensational picture of the experiment's findings. Yet, critics argue that this portrayal oversimplifies the complexity of human behavior and glosses over serious ethical concerns. The study receives widespread condemnation from psychologists and ethicists alike, prompting discussions about the role of institutional review boards in safeguarding research participants. As the days wear on, Zimbardo's experiment faces increasing scrutiny. Christina Maslach, a young psychology graduate student and Zimbardo's girlfriend, visits the mock prison to conduct interviews. Shocked by the dehumanizing environment, she confronts Zimbardo about the deteriorating situation. Her objections, along with concerns raised by other researchers, ultimately lead Zimbardo to terminate the study after just 6 days, far short of its intended 2 weeks. Despite its controversial nature, the Stanford Prison Experiment influences future research on conformity, obedience, and the power of social roles. However, it also serves as a cautionary tale about the ethical pitfalls of human subjects research. The study's findings become a subject of debate within academic circles, with some questioning its scientific merit, and others pointing to its profound impact on our understanding of human behavior in extreme situations. In 1973, the American Psychological Association creates new ethical guidelines for psychological research involving human participants, inspired in part by the backlash against the Stanford Prison Experiment. This watershed moment signals a shift towards more rigorous ethical standards and oversight in psychological research. Fast forward to today, and the legacy of the Stanford Prison Experiment remains contentious. Some hail it as a groundbreaking study that sheds light on the darker corners of human nature, while others view it as an unethical and scientifically flawed endeavor. As we continue to grapple with its implications, one thing is certain: the Stanford Prison Experiment will forever be etched in the annals of psychology as a stark reminder of both the power and peril of human subjects research. In our next segment, we will explore the ongoing debate surrounding the validity and applicability of the Stanford Prison Experiment, examining its influence on modern psychological research and ethical standards. Join us as we continue to unravel the mysteries shrouding this infamous study and expose the truth behind suppressed science. As we delve deeper into the labyrinth of the Stanford Prison Experiment, chilling questions about its conduct and aftermath emerge. The study's principal investigator, Dr. Philip Zimbardo, has been accused of withholding critical data and manipulating findings to fit his predetermined narrative. The missing pieces paint a more sinister picture, suggesting that the experiment was less an exploration of human behavior and more a demonstration of Zimbardo's ability to control and manipulate. A former student of Zimbardo's, Douglas Corpy, who played the role of a prisoner in the study, claimed that he warned Zimbardo about his escalating method acting before the experiment even began. Yet, these warnings were never documented nor addressed by Zimbardo publicly. Furthermore, the Stanford Prison Experiment was funded in part by the Central Intelligence Agency through a grant from the American Institute for Affiliated Research. This connection raises concerns about the true objectives of the study and its potential applications in shaping coercive interrogation techniques during the Cold War era. In addition to these unsettling revelations, there are unreported findings that challenge the validity and generalizability of the Stanford Prison Experiment. Researcher Thomas Carnahan conducted a reanalysis of the data and discovered that guards' behavior varied significantly depending on whether they were friends with Zimbardo outside the experiment. This crucial detail was omitted from the original study, further muddying the water surrounding its interpretation and impact. The ethical implications of the Stanford Prison Experiment are as complex and contentious as its findings. The study has been criticized for lacking proper oversight and informed consent, raising serious questions about the ethics of human subjects research in psychology. Despite these concerns, the study continues to be taught and referenced in classrooms and academic journals worldwide, casting a long and often problematic shadow over the field. In our next segment, we will explore the ongoing debate surrounding the validity and applicability of the Stanford Prison Experiment, examining its influence on modern psychological research and ethical standards. Join us as we continue to unravel the mysteries shrouding this infamous study and expose the truth behind suppressed science. As we navigate the murky waters of the Stanford Prison Experiment's legacy, it is crucial to remain vigilant in questioning the narratives presented by those in power and demanding transparency in scientific research. The quest for knowledge should never come at the expense of ethical responsibility or truth. Beyond the sensational headlines and undeniable intrigue of the Stanford Prison Experiment lie the complex web of unanswered questions, lingering ethical concerns, and suppressed scientific revelations. The study's principal investigator, Dr. Philip Zimbardo, maintained that the experiment was halted due to its disturbing findings and potential dangers. However, recent reevaluations paint a more nuanced picture, revealing a far ago of hidden agendas, overlooked details, and long-lasting impacts. As we delve into the aftermath of this groundbreaking study, it becomes apparent that there is much more to uncover. For instance, several participants reported suffering from psychological trauma long after the experiment's conclusion. One such individual, Douglas Corpy, claimed that his experience in the simulation led him to a mental breakdown years later, raising questions about the true cost of such research. In addition, many critics argue that the study was never properly replicated, thereby casting doubt on its purported findings. Dr. Thomas Carnahan and Dr. Sam McFarland from Western Kentucky University attempted to reproduce Zimbardo's results in 2007, but failed to do so, concluding that the original experiment may have been flawed or overstated. Moreover, new evidence suggests that the Stanford Prison Experiment was not as unique as initially thought. In fact, several similar studies were conducted around the same time, including Dr. Alex Haslam's BBC prison study in 2001. This raises questions about why Zimbardo's research gained such prominence while others languished in obscurity. Today, the ethical implications of the Stanford Prison Experiment continue to reverberate through the scientific community. In response to mounting criticism, the American Psychological Association issued new guidelines for conducting psychological research, emphasizing the importance of informed consent, debriefing, and monitoring participant welfare. These changes reflect a growing awareness of the potential harm that can arise from seemingly innocuous studies, as well as an ongoing commitment to upholding the highest standards of ethical conduct. Yet, despite these advancements, the specter of the Stanford Prison Experiment still looms large over modern psychology. Its enduring legacy serves as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between scientific progress and moral responsibility. And while we may have learned much about the darker aspects of human nature since then, one haunting question remains: how many other Stanford prisons are hiding in plain sight, waiting to be exposed? As we continue our journey through the shadowy world of suppressed science and covert experiments, let us not forget that the truth is often more complex and more chilling than it first appears. And so, armed with the knowledge of what has come before, we press onward, ever vigilant in our pursuit of answers to questions long concealed. In this new era of transparency and accountability, it is up to us, the curious seekers of truth, to demand better, to hold those in power accountable, and to ensure that the mistakes of the past never repeat themselves. For if there is one lesson to be gleaned from the Stanford prison experiment, it is this: when left unchecked, even the most brilliant minds can succumb to the allure of power, leading them down a dark path from which there may be no return. And so, as we venture forth into uncharted territory, let us remember that the search for knowledge is not for the faint of heart. It requires courage, determination, and an unwavering commitment to the truth, no matter where it may lead.